let's see. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. Boom.
All right. So we send the link.
Which link? The one to the video? Shit. It's real.
All right. So we're doing a live stream here. So people who are gonna be listening to this on the podcast, welcome to the King Killer Podcast. I'm Dan, the short guy over here. That's Tim. Yep. Tim is standing on his chair right now, just so like anybody who ends up watching this video, so you can get a sense of how short he is. This is me standing. My dope Allen Iverson shirt. But yeah, so like I said, he's super short, abnormally short. I told you guys, and now you're gonna see it. So anybody listening on the podcast, you can go to the video on YouTube. It'll be posted up there, and you'll be able to see how abnormally short he is. But we wanted to give an update on the podcast. So we've been on hiatus here for past couple months. I think we took like 2 months off. So Tim had to have surgery.
The fuck, man.
he had surgery to add height. He had like a shin bone surgery where they added like an inch of shin bone to him and to both of his legs. And so it's not really noticeable. Like I said, look, I mean, you can tell. Like, I don't know why he did it, but he did. He decided to have shin bone adding surgery. And so he's been recovering for the past couple months.
I didn't lengthen them. I just wanted to make them thicker.
Yeah. Oh, you just went thicker.
Yeah.
You added a layer. Okay.
I wanted more density in my shins.
That makes more sense. At least that's added protection. Because, I mean, once you're that abnormally short, what's the difference?
Well, I have kids, and just in case I get kicked in the shins, I have more, padding.
That's
the idea.
Yeah.
So I was going for.
So we've been off while he's been recovering from shin bone surgery. And but like moving forward for the podcast, we'll be doing recordings not on a strict schedule, just to kind of fit our schedule better so we can keep pumping out content. We'll do just the regular podcast. We'll do that periodically, and then we'll post those up anytime we record one. So we'll just keep going through the books and finish up book 2, Wise Man's Fear. We'll post those up and we'll keep going through them. But we're also going to start doing a live stream once a month, and so we'll keep follow me on like Twitter or Instagram, and you'll get heads up on when we're doing those. But we'll start posting those up once a month, and we'll just kind of shoot the shit with people, answer questions that anybody has, or, talk theories, that kind of stuff, or just talk about some of the things we've been watching, those kind of things. But as far as the podcast, we'll just start, same kind of deal we've always done, except for just it's going to be more random as far as when we post them up. So you just, follow us on the podcast platforms, and you can stay up to date whenever a new one posts up. But we'll be doing those. We'll keep doing those until we get through those books, and then we can kind of dive back into Stormlight Archives. We can dive back into that once we finish up with Wise Man's Fear. So that'll be easier for our schedule to kind of get through those, especially with Tim recovering from shin bone surgery.
It's hard. It does set you back in reading ability.
Yeah,
denser shin bones. I don't know if you know that, but denser shin bones make for it's computation difficulty, but
Computation difficulty.
yeah, yeah. You know, when you read, you have to understand what it is you're reading. So I'm finding my way through that as well.
It's a good point. It's something
It's worth it.
Hadn't thought of that. That is, I can see where that would be like a big deal. But yeah, so for people just joining, Tim. The reason we've been off, Tim had shin bone surgery. Yeah, I saw some people joined in. And I want them to know why you've been gone. Like Tim had shin bone surgery. I thought he was trying to gain some more height because you can see, like, if I stand next to Tim, he is way shorter than me. Just like abnormal. He's standing on top of a chair right now. That's Tim standing on a chair. So he was trying to fix his height problem.
I would have to be built like a wine glass.
Yeah, normal. Your torso's kind of normal size. It's your legs that are just abnormally short. I don't understand why your legs are so short, but they are. He's a miniature man. But yeah, that's why he's been gone. He was having added bone added to his shins. But I thought he was trying to add height. I guess he was just adding thickness to those shin bones.
On the front side, it's more density, so I can go in. A lot of sliding tackles. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready to really get in there, mix it up with the football players.
So how's what's been going on besides recovering from shin bone surgery? Tim's out here on the right coast now, so enjoying
the right or the correct?
The correct coast.
Oh, correct. Yes. Yeah, it's hot, but it's better. It's been an improvement for myself and my family, and my shins feel good. Feel better than they did when I was in California. So it's been good. Although it has been a little strange not doing the podcast regularly, but it's kind of a nice change of pace. Slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, let's get a little break. We were kind of hitting a little rut anyways on the podcast, so let's get a little break so when we dive back in. And, when we do the live streams, we just kind of popped up here, not really setting it up or anything. Just so, when we do it moving forward, we'll see, what kind of hurdles we run into, what we need to kind of fix up, but we'll kind of be fixing those things up as we go. But, yeah, so we'll keep we'll be doing these like once a month, and we'll just kind of go through some questions. But one of the questions people sent to me was that what happened to Fitz.
Oh,
Fitz unfortunately died horribly. It was a horrible death. It was kind of funny, but it was a horrible death. Raging Inferno. He went to rescue his pet squirrel in a Raging Inferno. Saved the squirrel's life. He died a hero, but that is why Fitz is no longer on the podcast.
See, to me, that would not be heroic. I know there's a lot of people out there that like animals and all, but if you're sacrificing your life for that of a squirrel,
yeah,
that's not heroic. That's kind of dumb. I mean, was it Seinfeld where he saved the squirrel? Yeah, it was a squirrel, right? He had to like feed it. He had to wear like a vest.
That wasn't Kramer like with the crow or something like that? Like he started cockfighting?
No. I believe George,
I don't think that was Seinfeld. I don't remember Seinfeld.
I believe George had a pet squirrel. And I don't know. Yeah, maybe I know Danny DeVito. He ate a crow, right? Literally ate crow. That's Always Sunny.
Oh yeah. It's a classic.
I've always wanted crow ever since. It sounds so good. It sounds really tasty.
It didn't look fun when he ate it. Like he ate like a rotted crow, like laying on the ground. Dude, that was already dead.
There was a deer. There are a lot of deer around here. Deer got hit by a car. Happens quite a bit. Or I assume it got hit by a car. It was dead on the side of the road. And these turkey vultures over a week, it's down to like one leg is left. Mm-hmm. They just tear these things apart, man. I'm thinking they're eating the deer, right? Make a little turkey vulture stew. Pretty good.
That's what you think's happening.
No, I'm saying
you're
make a
thinking,
turkey
you're
vulture
making,
stew.
yeah.
It's got deer on the inside. It's kind of like a turducken, but it's
Okay.
vulture like digesting the deer. It's like a nice foie gras type thing going on.
So, one of the things wanted to talk about is my beef with Star Wars, because Star Wars completely shat on Star Wars fans with that Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Like, Tim hadn't watched it, but I showed Tim a couple of the clips of like some of my
Pretty
beef.
bad.
But dude, like the entire premise of the show, it's just a massive plot hole. Like, so premise of the show is this girl Reva. She's a new character. She's the girl I showed you with that was running around, the most athletic running form I've ever seen.
She was
They
very
did not help her with the cinematography. Like they could have like got stunt doubles or something and made it look like it was
even from like a different angle. It was like the angle where you see her running. I don't know if you remember, like there were kids in gym class where you're like, this dude's never ran before.
yeah yeah.
Like and now he's being forced to run. Is like Borat on the treadmill. She wasn't that bad, but she was moving like you're a Jedi.
Yeah,
like I don't know what the Jedi training is exactly, but they should be able to move.
It was brutal. Like when I watched that, why not get like a stunt double? Like, why, if she's not athletic, it looked like how I run in my dreams when I feel like I'm running through molasses, and I'm like, why can I not run? That's like her standard running form. It's hard to be so slow that when you're videotaped, you are obviously slow. When you're the only person running on the screen, you should not portray super slow unathleticism. But that's exactly what was portrayed. They could have helped her. I mean, like I'm sure there's tons of actors that are unathletic and are not good runners, but they do some movie magic and help the person out.
Well, show it from the back.
Yeah, have a stunt double.
Yeah, or like some other angle, whatever. But it's a small thing. From the little bit that I had seen, a lot of it's visually, I don't know, kind of consistent with the quality of other Star Wars stuff I had seen, just in terms of like the cinematography and like the lighting and things of that nature. It looks consistent with other Star Wars things, but yeah, there are plenty of major flaws in terms of like story. That's the biggest problem when you see something that you just can't buy story wise, or even just like small stuff where it's like you chose this. Like, so speaking of post production, like it's got to be glaring. Like, this is ridiculous. Like when you see her running like that, it's like, it looks so good.
Yeah, I mean, they're spending a ton of money. It's not like they're not putting any money into this. Like, so it's like, who did you hire? Does this person have no experience in this industry? Like, how do you not see this? But anyways, that girl, they have her going and she kidnaps Leia. And the whole premise behind it was she found out that Leia Organa was tied to Obi-Wan. And so her intention was to draw Obi-Wan out.
Like as bait.
Yeah. And so that's what happens. She kidnaps him, and then Obi-Wan comes looking. But here's the problem with that. It's like, once you do that, and Obi-Wan comes out of hiding to rescue Leia Organa, like, at that point, you immediately know how to get Obi-Wan out of hiding. Like, that makes her a target forever. And she's a little kid. And then years go by where, after, like, it ends with, eventually he gets her back to her parents, and it ends with, kind of in a situation where Darth Vader now should have the knowledge that if he wants to get Obi-Wan, all he has to do is go after the Organas, and go after the dad and grill him and investigate him. And he should be torturing this guy if it's Darth Vader, or like with the Force powers, pull the knowledge out of his head. Where is Obi-Wan? But now there's this gaping plot hole in the Star Wars franchise where why is Darth Vader not going after her dad? Why is this guy just not being pressured to say like, okay, there's no way that we kidnap your daughter. Obi-Wan comes looking for her, and we know it's Obi-Wan. Like Darth Vader has fights with Obi-Wan, so it's not like it was like a secret Jedi. It's Obi-Wan, and they know it's Obi-Wan, and they intended it to be Obi-Wan. So at that point, it's like, why wouldn't you just keep going to this well, or why wouldn't you go to the dad and be like, yo, how did you get in touch with Obi-Wan? How did he find out we kidnapped the daughters? Obviously, you had to have told her.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is like the fans know this.
Yeah.
They know the overarching problem that you're now creating with this story. So the people that control the story that are, they're executing this Obi-Wan Kenobi show, they should know.
I thought, like, when I
doing,
saw it,
right?
like, I watched, like, the first 2 episodes, and then I was like, well, surely, like, they'll come up with something where, like, Obi-Wan's gonna be presumed dead or something like that. And so that's kind of how they're going to get around this. But it was like, no, they're not even doing that at all. They're not doing a situation where he's presumed dead. He ends up fighting Darth Vader and gets in a fight that they kind of recreate a fight that he has in the Clone Wars with another character in the cartoon show. And they kind of recreate that where it's like his mask gets split open. But Obi-Wan wins this fight and then leaves him and goes back and takes her back to her family, and then ends up, back on Tatooine where, then he's watching over, Luke for years.
That seems pretty irresponsible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just terrible. It's like terrible writing. It was like, why did you like my initial response was like, okay, well, it's clearly they just are going to have someone, he's going to fake his death, and it's going to be presumed that he's dead, and that's why they're not looking for him anymore. And so that's why they let this go. And they'll come up with some reason why Darth Vader's not torturing Bail Organa. They'll come up with some explanations that make sense, but they don't. They don't even address it.
I mean, wouldn't this also be, wouldn't it have been better for the world if Kenobi has the chance to kill Vader, he would kill him? Rather than letting him live. So that's another problem.
But I can forgive that, because you can go like, okay, well, he's a Jedi. He's not, he's not gonna kill this guy that was his great friend forever. Guy he brought up. He's basically raised this dude. He's not going to kill him. I can I can understand why he wouldn't want to kill him. Even though, yeah, obviously the thing to do there is to kill Darth Vader. You save it. Darth Vader, you eventually, by not killing him, an entire planet gets destroyed. So, yeah, it was pretty horrific outcome by not taking this dude out.
Seems very lazy. All of the... Well, but I know the fandom hates the show. Is it successful critically? Is it successful numbers-wise?
Initially, it was doing
that happens with all of it, though. Anything new, everybody immediately is into.
And it's Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. So
and it's Ewan McGregor,
right? Yeah. How can you flop? But here's the problem: there's going to be ramifications because the show's not good. It's a bad show. It's just not good. It's poorly written. The show is just one plot hole after another. Like I showed Tim the scene where Obi-Wan sneaks into this building through, into this fortress to rescue Leia from the Empire. And this girl that he's working with, she's sitting at a table, and they're not much further apart than me and Tim. They're like 5 feet apart, and she's sitting there talking on her microphone to Obi-Wan. And like, hey, you need to go in here. And it's like, does this guy not hear? Like, is he deaf?
She is whispering, kind of, but there's no sound in the room.
Yeah,
it's
No
ridiculously
one's
implausible.
Talking. It's not like there's a big fan blowing or something. Like they come up with something that muffles the noise. Like there's even one part where like she sits down and starts talking. The guy looks over and it's like, okay, and then that was it. And then they don't even address it again. And then later on, another guy comes up to her, and he's like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Come with me. And they walk behind some, like computer stand type of thing, some, shelving, and they walk behind it, and then she chokes this dude out, presumably kills him, because otherwise, like, this guy should regain consciousness at some point. But she chokes him out and just drops his body, and then just goes and sits back down and starts talking to Obi-Wan again. And it's like, this is a tiny room. Like, there's a dead body in here, and nobody notices. No one's like, hey, what was that noise behind me? Like that.
Well, it's funny that
you were able to choke someone out.
The noise is like, it's like kind of like when you crack your knuckles or like break a whole bunch of sticks, like small sticks at once, like kindling. It's like that little noise, like the Steven Seagal break your neck noise. It's like that. But yeah, it's literally, you can see through it. So it's like, where hard drives are stored, like a bunch of hard drives being stored. It's like that. It's very Star Wars. So it's like red lights and black matte, like metal, and then red lights between it. And you can see them, and then just like a little crack falls. I mean, if he's dead, he's probably shitting and pissing all over himself. This guy's sitting 10 feet away, like not thinking anything.
He's just so focused in on his job. Fucking hitting the keyboard.
Maybe they just got
playing.
these guys.
He's like playing the solitaire. He's like got the all time. He's like trying to break his record. It's like, I'm so close.
Maybe they have him like so on a particular amount of drugs. I mean, this is obviously given a lot for this to make sense. But they have like the Empire employees on so many drugs that they can only focus on job at hand, can't observe anything around them.
It's like, it's a helmet. Like it just shuts out.
Oh, he's wearing a hat. He's wearing like a bike hat.
Yeah. So you don't even got the excuse of a helmet. It's like, no, this is our special needs department. So these everybody in this room is deaf.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
So ridiculous. And then later on, like a group of people, like a bunch of people come in this room, and it's like, is no one going to look to the left and see the dead body? Like, what is going on?
Well, it is pretty funny because then they do show an image of the whole room, and it's like the size of my kitchen.
Yeah,
like there's not a lot of room, and it's 2 stations where people would sit. One was her giving secret ops, like under her breath. She wasn't even really whispering, but it was down a little bit.
If you're sitting by someone and they like you've never worked with this person before, like this is a brand new person. This isn't like she works in this office. No one knows her there, and then she like sits down and she's sitting there like. Like you're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on with you?
Yeah, what's she
doing? Who are you? What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, you would at least be listening, right? You'd be observing, because anytime there's somebody new, but then also they're doing something really suspicious, you're gonna notice.
Yeah, I've worked on sales floors where I'm sitting next to people. I hear everything they say, every fucking word they say. Even if you get like someone who's scared to talk on the phone and they talk a little quiet, like I still hear every word they say. Yeah. I still hear everything.
And the people you don't want to hear, you can't even zone it out even if you try.
No. And it's not like she's got like, a headset with like earplugs in. It's just a microphone. Yeah, so it's like coming out of the microphone. And it's loud enough where like when she talks to Obi-Wan, those stormtroopers are walking by and they're like, hey, did you hear that? Like they heard it. Why does this guy not hear it? He's sitting right next to her. And then she, not only that, when like the guy is like, hey, come with me, she leaves the thing sitting on the desk next to that guy. That guy's not going to be like, yeah, what the fuck was that she's talking into? Like, what was going on with that?
It looks like a little Nerf ball. But yeah, no, it's funny too, because when the guy comes up, he's like, show me some identification. And then she goes to grab it. He's like, come with me, before she can even do it. So it's like, well, okay. So she didn't do it. Come with her, or come with him. And then somehow she puts him in the Seagal deathlock. We don't get to see that. We just hear the twigs break.
Yeah.
Apparently, these guys are super weak, too. Not to say that she's not adept at strangling people. I don't know her backstory, but, they're like the guy's fucking alert. Yeah. He's like, this person's suspicious. You think he's not just going to turn his back to like, oh, my gosh.
There's a scene later I didn't show you where like she goes, like the stormtroopers got her and they're like trying to take her away. And she like smacks one upside the helmet and then like pushes the other and then like gets her gun and like kills him real quick. But it was like the most awful little sequence where it was like, come on, man, you had to have watched that on video. Like she just smacked a stormtrooper upside the helmet, and he's just like, oh, like what is going on? Like this, if you smack me upside the helmet, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna jack you in your face immediately.
That is kind of a funny thing that I feel like has always, if not existed for stormtroopers, it's like an ongoing joke where it's like they're just, because they're faceless and they're kind of like they move around a little bit awkwardly, like they're like wearing like plastic everywhere. Where it's just kind of like you accept them as being ridiculous.
In the show, they're like super soldiers though.
Well, so
they're like
that's
cloned super soldiers.
So that's what I'm saying.
They're all of the Boba Fett. That's who they are.
So it's it's either one spectrum or the other.
Boba Fett's dad, but yeah.
So if we're gonna pretend they're inept, like you slap him in the head and he just doesn't know what to do, that's not a super soldier. That's like the biggest lackey you could possibly have. His whole job is to fight. Instead, just a smack on the helmet. He's
completely disoriented. Like, what is it? Does his helmet provide no protection? Just someone smacks you up the side of the head of it, it completely disorients you.
That's something that always made me laugh about the stormtroopers, like armor and everything. It's like it just literally makes them really inefficient soldiers, and be like, well, then why? Why would they wear this if it's just inefficiency? Because one blaster, they're done.
Yeah,
they just fall on their ass. That was one of the escape scene that you showed me. I mean, it's so utterly absurd. Well, and then not to skip over him.
If you haven't seen it,
kid.
She gives him. She's like, here, put this on, and then the next thing you see is he's wearing a trench coat, and he's got Leia walking beside him in the trench coat, and it's obvious.
It's one of the worst.
Clearly obvious there is a little kid walking beside him that he's covering up, and he's just walking through lines of stormtroopers.
It's the type of thing, if you've seen if you've ever either seen on television or a friend of yours, like, I'm just going to steal this thing from a store, and they just put it in their white tucked in t-shirt. It's the most absurd thing. It looks like you have a kid underneath your jacket, and everyone knows it. Yeah. Like, you're not even trying, man.
It looks like something you'd see like on a Benny Hill skit.
Yeah, it looks. What I said was, it looks like a bunch of midgets that all together, or the Three Stooges, all wearing one trench coat, and they're a giant guy walking through. It's absolutely absurd.
Oh man, it was so bad. It was so bad. That episode is one of the worst episodes I've ever seen. And there's like a part where showed you where he's like holding back the water from breaking in some room, and he's like waiting until this last second when the stormtroopers are coming through, and it was like, why don't you just leave that room and let all that water flood it out? They're still not going to be able to get to you. Why are you waiting until this last possible second to do this? That was like a minor thing. That wasn't like a huge deal, but it was just like all the little details. It's like, is no one asking questions?
That's the problem that eventually happens. So the whole thing is like suspending disbelief. So when you keep stacking them, after a while it gets to like, dude, I can't take it. Like, there's so many shows that I don't give a shit. I'll accept it. I mean, we all do that. Mm-hmm. If we're watching a show, we accept it from the get-go. I mean, all of it's absurd. I mean, what is this? It's a story about people that never existed in
if this was like
outer
some
space,
goofball show on the CW, I wouldn't fucking care. It would just be like, whatever, man. It's just like, but this is Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. This is your chance. You guys flopped on the sequel trilogy. On the last trilogy, you flopped bad. You lost a ton of the fan base with that. And then, you got The Mandalorian, which is popular. Boba Fett had very mixed reviews. And then you're bringing this in, and it's like, okay, here's your chance to redeem yourself. Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And then you shit the bed on that show.
I mean, is it they're trying to they're trying to release so many shows that they think are all just moneymakers, so it's just lazy?
I think that's a big part of Disney's problem is they are pumping out so much content right now, and they got a Star Wars or a Marvel show dropping nonstop, and so their CGI has taken a hit. Like their CGI has gotten worse, and especially on the shows because they don't have the time to put it together. But like I heard, like they put together a script for one of the MCU movies, the drawing a blank, the one with Scarlett Johansson. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on
Judge
the
Dredd.
name. Yeah, Judge Dredd. But the one with Scarlett Johansson, her solo movie, they God, why am I drawing a blank on her name? Whatever. But on that movie, they had like 13 weeks, I think, or 13 days or 13 weeks or something like that to write the script. I mean, they're writing scripts. They're writing scripts in a matter of weeks. Their
No
latest
wonder they suck. That's ridiculous.
Their latest Doctor Strange movie. The guy who was writing that, he said something like, I got to the second act and we're ready to start filming, and I had no idea what I was going to do to finish the film. And it's like, what? Hold on. What do you guys? You guys.
That's ridiculous, man.
You guys are now just into like, let's just soak up as much money as we can soak up and screw the properties. We don't care. People are going to pay for it. Doesn't matter about. Don't worry about plot holes. Don't worry about making everything make sense. Don't worry about being meticulous. Like Rafis, what he's doing, there is no fucking way, if this was his baby, that he would put that shit out. And people were like, oh, well, he's taking 11 years. Yeah, but I'd rather someone take 11 years to make sure that it's tight and smooth and there's no fuck-ups. Yeah. I don't want to fucking see something that's garbage or that's mediocre at best.
It seems like, well, it makes me feel like what they're doing is just rush out as much content as you can. It's almost like the U.S. versus Russia in the 80s. Like, just outspend them and they'll collapse. Like, Paramount won't be able to last because they don't have enough content to keep up with Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like that. At least to me. Why else would you... What's the rush? Like, why so much content? Well, I guess part of it is people digest these shows so quickly, right? There's no commercial. There's no waiting a week. There's none of that. So get it out as quickly as you can and get people to subscribe because you have this new show, what have you.
Get it out as quickly as you can and get people to subscribe.
Yeah, and let me see if there's.
The thing I was gonna say though, when we were talking about,
hold on. Catch me up to speed. We're talking Star Wars. Good to see you guys. Yes, we are talking right now. Hold on. And you said also Tim is huge. My whole life is a lie. No. Tim is standing on a chair right now.
This joke is just like.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
That's Tim standing versus me. No. Tim is. I
like that I'm also closer to the camera, so it makes me look even bigger than I typically would be.
Take off your shirts. No, Larry Legend. You take off your shirt. You're the legend.
Now, what I was saying, though, about Star Wars, it's just kind of the last thing. So when we were talking about her running, I don't know what this is. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the worst episodes, I guess, whatever. I don't know. Trying to set the scene for somebody. But basically, they come out. He's got Leia in his trench coat on some Benny Hill shit, like trying to hide her and not hiding her at all. Like he's stealing fucking DVD players in his trench coat, and they're surrounded. They're completely surrounded. They're the only people that everyone's aiming at, and they just run out and just pew pew pew, and everybody's so inept.
There's like stormtroopers looking to the right, and it's like there was only these people. Like there's not an army attacking you. What are you guys looking at? There's like 3 people.
It's pretty hilarious. So like their whole exit is like, wait, I thought they were surrounded. Like they have to do something. Like either someone's got to drop in from over there that gets their attention. Someone else has to be attacked. Something has to happen. They can't just turn around, shoot, and everybody fucking disperses, which didn't happen anyway. They hit every target and no one can hit them.
No, yeah, it makes no sense. And it's not like they were caught off guard. There was a big, hey, you guys, stop. And everybody turns and looks at them, and everybody is ready, aiming their shit at them. So there's like no reason, like why these guys are like picking up their guns. Like, why don't you have your gun in your hand? Like, so what is going on?
That's what's funny is you settled that for me earlier, which is so stormtroopers are supposed to be super soldiers. Shows like this, they're they're not. They're just like a waste of space. Like they're literally
make them laughable.
Well, yeah, exactly. They are. Yeah, they're literally. Yeah, they're laughable. You could have them like fucking fall on a banana peel as well.
Yeah,
like
that's what they should have been doing. Like if you're gonna go this route, fucking lean into it and start throwing out banana peels and like stormtroopers are slamming.
That's pretty good. I like that. So Obi-Wan, so Leia loves bananas and he's just shoving bananas
He's like, they're all
Just throwing
standing next to a
bananas.
crate of
She has to eat
bananas, and
them.
he uses the force
Yeah,
to
yeah.
break the crate of bananas.
He can't just peel them and throw them. They have to be eaten.
Yeah.
It's important. So he's just shoving them right in her face. Then he throws them.
Yeah. He's squirting the bananas like guns, like shooting bananas in everybody's
That
face.
would say that when you say lean into it, that makes it classic for me.
At
Instead
least
of
then
just
it's
being
funny.
ridiculous.
It's you're at least trying to go the comedy route. If you're gonna do it seriously, you cannot.
Be
you
so
cannot
fucking
do what they
lazy.
did.
You can't. Yeah, you can't be so lazy, man. There's got to be other. There has to be other avenues out. There has to be other things involved other than they're just using blasters to escape a room where they're completely surrounded.
There's also the Reva, like one of the kind of the main bads beyond Darth Vader. They the whole premise behind her is she was one of the little younglings that Anakin Skywalker kills when he becomes Darth Vader, and in that the pivotal scene when he goes into the Jedi room with all the little kids in there, and he turns on the lightsaber. They made her one of those kids, but she survives, and so her whole thing is I'm going to join the Empire, and it's to get revenge. I'm going to try to get revenge against these guys, and when they're fighting, or when she works her way in there, she's a cold-blooded sociopath. And there's a scene where she's on Tatooine and she's looking for a Jedi, and she just walks up and slices the hand off of some innocent lady. So it's if she's undercover, she's deep undercover. I mean, she's a straight up sociopath. But they have this whole plot line for her where she's a complete monster, and there's nothing redeeming about it. There's nothing, there's no arc to it. You don't see the anguish she's fighting what am I doing? There's none of this internal struggle. She's just a monster. And then when she finally is I'm gonna go after Darth Vader now, she just does it in this haphazard way where he's got his back to her, and she's pulls out her thing and tries to cut him in half, and he just stops her lightsaber with his mind. And it was you could have did that 10 years ago. You've been waiting this whole time, and that is your move?
Also, why? Why does she turn all of a sudden?
She's been trying to get revenge against him. The whole point
she's
is
the
because
slow play.
he killed all of her friends and he stabbed her. She survived, so she was I'm gonna get close to him and I'm gonna take him out.
So you're saying her cutting off civilians' hands is deep cover?
Yeah.
That's fucking insane, dude.
Yeah. They just made her an insane, unlikable character. And
that's
then
problematic.
And then you get the typical shit now, where it's people are she's a badly written character. And I'm not even talking the acting. I thought the acting in the show was fine. I none of it was man, that was fucking great acting, but none of it was Attack of the Clones bad or something like that. It was they were all legit actors. So I mean, I didn't have a problem necessarily with the acting. The writing and the production was horrible, but acting wasn't that bad. But
bad acting can't save bad writing and bad production. It just can't.
Great acting can't save it. But yeah. And so
yeah, that's what I'm. What
yeah,
did I say?
You said bad acting, but I know what you meant. But people start criticizing her character because her character is terrible. I mean, and it was obvious too. They opened the show with Anakin killing the little kids, and so it was obvious that she was going to be one of those little kids grown up. And so everybody predicted that right off the bat. But then she's a psychopath, and so it's well, how do you redeem her?
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to have to do, and she never does something super heroic. Her big thing was she could have killed Luke Skywalker, but she doesn't. And it was okay, that's your big redeeming scene?
Well, I guess she tries to kill Darth Vader. That's redeemable, I guess.
But I mean, that was her plan the whole time, and it doesn't redeem all the crazy murderous shit you did. You were killing people, innocent people. You're a psychopath.
That's the part that confused me originally when you're explaining this. If that's what she's doing for deep cover, you've become the problem. You're Donnie Brasco now.
Yeah.
Like you're not
way worse. Like,
yeah, well,
you're
yeah,
way deeper
obviously,
than Donnie
yeah,
Brasco.
because you're the one killing the
Yeah.
person. Yeah,
You're not just standing by watching it happen. You're like
or
facilitating
cutting the
it.
body up after the fact.
Like just chopping some innocent woman's hand off is like that's not necessary. And like the best is like they're looking at her like the other people with the Empire that are with her. They're looking at her as like, what's your fucking problem? You psycho.
So out of the bad guys, she's
Yeah.
even worse.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah, that's
you
real
had to
shitty.
you if you're gonna do that, you have to have like some kind of internal struggle where you're having scenes with her dealing with that, and if you're gonna have the big reveal that she's she was one of the good guys and she's trying to get close to Darth Vader to take him out, then you can't. If you're not gonna have the internal struggle, then you can't have her being a psychopath, fucking chopping people up and stuff. You one or the other.
Yeah.
You can't do both. And they were just, it just seems like no one is like, there's just so little effort is being put into these shows.
It sounds very lazy. It's like have the optics line up and then just make it work. It's like, well, this is what we're going to do. You figure it out, make it work. And then you have 3 weeks to do it. It's like, well, what the fuck, man? Like, well, here it is. Okay, yeah, let's just go. Let's just go with it. Fuck it. Let's just go. We have everyone ready. Let's just go.
Oh man, it was very frustrating.
Pump out bad
it bothered
shit.
me a lot because I've grown up with Star Wars and it's not to say like I was like George Lucas is just the master. His original trilogy, in my opinion, is the best trilogy.
The first two are
followed by the Lord of the Rings. And then probably The Godfather after that. Godfather would be the best if the third one was better. Original two Godfathers, though, are like two of the best movies of all time. But the original two Star Wars, first two Star Wars, are two of the best movies of all time.
Yeah,
I just think the third Star Wars is better than the third Godfather. And the Lord of the Rings all together, I think, is better than all together for The Godfather. But individually, I would say Godfather 1 or Godfather 2 and Godfather 1 are probably my top two movies ever. Individually.
I don't know. I mean, in terms of trilogies, where does City Slickers fall in there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because
Sister Act as well.
2 might be better than 1 when it comes to... And Young Guns, that's another one. Young Guns 2 might be better than 1.
Empire. Empire Strikes Back is... probably my third favorite movie of all time.
Wow.
Are you talking, Robert? Are you talking Empire like the show or Empire Strikes Back? Because we might be talking about two completely different things. I'm assuming you're talking about the Star Wars.
Was that Juicy?
Given the context.
Juicy Smollett?
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah. I'm a big Juicy fan.
That's
I'm not
my
a big
favorite.
Fan of Empire.
It's such a great bit by Dave Chappelle. It's like this guy Juicy Smollett. Hilarious.
Yeah, dude. That the claim of Lord of the Rings being stronger than Godfather, I don't think so, man. Yeah,
I think as a trilogy, all three together, I do because I don't think that like I like every one of the I think they're all great movies on their own. I think I would sit down and watch any of them, but Godfather 3, like I don't have any desire to watch that again. I've seen it. It's not like I'm like that's a terrible movie, but I'm also like it's not a movie I care to. I've seen it like twice, and I don't care to see it again. Whereas like the Godfather 1 and 2, I would watch those if I see them on TV. I'm stopping and watching.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same thing with the first 3 Star Wars.
Yeah.
I have the same thing with Die Hard. Die Hard 1, 2, 3 are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So, Die Hard 1 is my favorite hangover movie of all time. It's my favorite movie to watch, and I almost prefer watching it with ads. And like where they bleep out instead of yippee ki yay motherfucker, yippee ki yay Mr. Falcon.
Yeah, Mr. Falcon. That's the greatest edit ever.
I love it, man.
Such a classic.
It's great. Yeah. I love. I mean, like I don't know, talking trilogies. That's definitely up there for me. But I've never really watched Lord of the Rings movies again. So I'm not in that fandom for sure. I've never read the books either, so it's not really
extremely.
I like the movies a lot. When they first came out, 1 and 2, I was all on board, man.
Yeah,
I was super into it.
I saw the third one with you, and like your opinion of the ending was wildly what's the word, influenced, because you had to use the restroom real bad, and
I did
instead
have
of
to
like
be-
going and using the restroom and coming back, you're sitting there like like a little kid, and you're like, that ending, it took forever. It was like, where's this going? It's like, yeah, you had to piss the whole time.
It's one of the few times I've yelled out in a theater where I just literally said, "Get in the fucking boat,
Yeah,
get in the
yeah.
boat." Because, dude, but I don't care what the movies are, like whatever the franchise is, when they pander to like you have to care this much. When the Commissioner and Batman died, I didn't give a shit. They like made me like they're pandering to make me care. I'm like, I don't care. R2D2 dies. I'm like, dude, I don't really give a shit. He's a fucking droid. Like, I know
When
you.
does R2D2 die?
There's some point where they like fucking, I don't know. I thought there was in like the fuck, I don't know.
There's no like funeral or nothing for R2D. This guy, man, he didn't know.
There's something of that vein where they like try to pull you in, where it's like, all right, this is the moment where you show how much you care for the Commissioner. I'm like, I don't fucking give a shit about the Commissioner, dude. I don't care. So like the third Batman.
Oh, you're
of that
talking about the
set-
mayor, the one. Yeah, they don't kill the commissioner. Commissioner
That was
Gordon
Gary
doesn't
Oldman.
get killed. They fake his death. They fake his death.
Well, whatever. But like when I'm in the theater and it's like the third of whatever installment, and it's just when it starts to pander and I can feel it, I react in that way. I don't like it. So,
Yeah, I despise. I despise anything that panders. I don't like when people like have a message. Like, man, I showed you that clip on She-Hulk. I posted it on.
I
Twitter.
didn't see the clip. I just saw like the whatever the caption, or what have you.
It's brutal. I mean, because it is like her going through. She's talking to Bruce Banner, and he's like sitting down with her, like trying to teach her how to control her anger, and then she's like, I don't need help with this because I get catcalled going down the street, and I'll have men tell me how to do my job when I'm better than them at it, and they're trying to explain, talking about mansplaining and catcalling, and then she's like, so I'm better at controlling my anger because I have to do it infinitely more than you. And it was like, do you know who you're talking to? This is Bruce Banner. Like, this guy has been getting kicked in the teeth since he was a little tiny kid, and this is your cousin. You know this about him. You know his history. And so it was like, it would be equivalent to me if I was talking to a cousin who had gone to war and experienced horrible shit and had a terrible upbringing as a child, been hunted by the government, saw a bunch of people killed, tried to commit suicide. And then I'm like, dude, you don't get it. I drive in LA traffic and I'm constantly having people cutting me off, and it's infuriating. So I know how to deal with this stuff. It's like so over the top. Like, your problems do not compare to that person's problems. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're going to bring up those kind of things, you better be bringing it up to someone who doesn't have to deal with anything.
Yeah.
And then the counter might make sense. But if you're bringing it up to someone who's had a traumatic, horrible life, it makes no sense whatsoever. And then and I was like, well, maybe it's like she's in the heat of the moment, and then like after this, she's like, that was stupid, and they pull it back. But they don't pull it back. She doubled down.
That's worse. Obviously,
like the sequence ends up resolving with her going I apologize for saying harsh things, but they were also true. And it was like, what? No,
cat
no, they
calls
weren't.
And someone, oh my god! I mean,
And it's like
it's really funny
I get the
because
point. I get the point she's talking about. Like, she's worried, like, when these guys are catcalling, like if I snap back at them, they might get violent, and then I can't defend myself, and so it's a dangerous situation for me if I'm by myself. I get the danger aspect, but I promise you, if you're not familiar with this, if you're a woman and you think that men walk around and we don't realize that other men are very dangerous, that is not the case whatsoever. everywhere I go, every other man I look at, I size them up and I'm questioning whether like I could take this man out. Like if I'm walking down the street by myself and I'm walking and another man's walking towards me, I'm thinking about what I would do if this guy attacks me. It's just on my mind constantly.
Constantly, Jesus.
I'm
man.
constantly like I size people up.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, I get that's a human instinct, but constantly.
I'm not like if I'm walking in a group of people and stuff. I'm talking about like if I'm by myself and then I see another dude walking up. If you're walking down the street, I mean, I've had in LA walking down the street, I got fucking jacked in the jaw, punched in the jaw, like in the mouth, like right here, right in the mouth by a dude that was like 6'3", probably 220, 230, way bigger than me. Punched me right in the mouth, and then after my mouth is filling up with blood, immediately follows up with a punch to the temple. That's just walking down the streets at like 2 a.m. in Los Angeles. I didn't start shit with this guy. It was out of nowhere. I had my hands in my pocket. So I completely understand the danger that other men represent. But that's universal. You don't have to be a lady to understand that there's dangerous men. I get that they're, if you're smaller, the fear is going to be greater. Like if you're Tim, it's going to be greater fear for Tim than it is going to be for someone as big as me.
So what bothers me about the whole thing is like how obviously it's like connecting dots of like, this is what our audience has to deal with. So let's represent it in the show. And she has to deal with mansplaining at work. People explaining how she's not capable of doing something that she is capable of. And then catcalls. It's like, it's so fucking, to me it's fucking lazy because it's like, it's the easiest, what is it? The straightest route is the fucking easiest.
And it's also like
that doesn't apply to writing.
These writers are like, man, you're writing from that New York, maybe Los Angeles perspective. This isn't happening in the Midwest.
It's too direct, man. It's way too direct.
She goes, that sounds like a trauma response. It is a trauma response. I've been jacked in the face by a big dude. I'm hyper vigilant about. I've been in so many fights that just in the streets. Been in fights in the streets where like 1 second I was not in a fight, and the next second I am in a fight. Then I am hyper vigilant. Definitely hyper vigilant. And it's not even just that LA life, man. Like LA's soft. I don't know, like there's a lot of shit talkers in LA, but there's a lot of fucking soft ass men in LA.
It's interesting because but at night if you're in a certain area, your probability of getting
there's some highly dangerous areas.
Yeah. But what you bring up is really, because I brought that up the other day. It's like when you go to a bar and it's like face to face, people screaming at each other. It's like, oh, shit's about to go down, and then nothing happens. You're like, that's not how stuff happens in the Midwest.
No,
that would have been a fight.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a culture shock to see that in LA. But I don't know.
There's a lot of front in LA, but there's a lot of dangerous spots in LA. There's a lot of violence in Los Angeles.
It's a shit ton of people, man.
Way worse.
Wherever you're at. I mean, that's why New York. People say New York is any place that's highly populated. There's a higher probability of violence because there's a higher population of people.
Here's I'm from Minnesota. That for sure would have been a fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing if somebody catcalls me, dude. It's going down.
Yeah. Wow. Me and Tim one time we were driving in Los Angeles and I was catcalling, but I was catcalling big guys that I would see.
It was everyone.
Okay. But it was mainly guys because we were seeing guys walking down the street and I kept yelling out the window. I was like, shake your boobs. It was like, and then like some big Asian kid, he's like walking down the street and I was like, shake your boobs. And he immediately gives me one of the little shimmy shakes. I was like, it's like that dude would be my best friend. The fact that he immediately went with it.
Well, what was great is like you probably got at least like 3 or 4 responses with people shaking their boobs, and that one specifically, it didn't look like he was gonna do it. He put his stuff down and then did it. I was like, yeah, okay, this guy's got it going on.
Because because it reminds me like those kind of things. It's like there's that stand-up comedian where he talked about like he would like yell stuff at people that made no sense. Like he'd see a pretty lady walking down the street and like, go back to Mexico. And so it was that kind of stuff. Yelling at guys walking down the street, shake your boobs, is hilarious to me.
It went over well.
Not so nice. Now, there's a lot of nice. It's the accent. It's that Minnesota accent that gives off the impression that people are nice. But you also got that hockey mentality. There's that hockey era, that so many people are into that kind of sport where hockey's not a non-violent sport. Hockey's very violent. So you got you gotta at least be comfortable with violence to play hockey.
Yeah, and there's
that's part of the culture.
Right? Kirby Puckett.
If you got one of those thick Minnesota accents, the thick Minnesota accent it gives me vibes of the mom from Happy Days, like the Cunningham's mom. She's just like some sweet old lady, some like sweet old lady making cookies. Like that's what the Minnesota accent reminds me of.
Reminds me of Fargo.
Mass murder.
It's a great show. Great movie.
Yeah.
And a great show.
I never watched the show.
Show's great, man. It's very different from one season to the next. That is a great example of very good writing. Across the board execution. It's like Breaking Bad type level of like very good writing, very good cinematography, very good directing, great acting every season as far as I'm concerned.
What was the Stranger Things? Have you watched Stranger Things?
I have not watched the newest season yet.
Oh man, it's so good.
I got a little bit
so damn good.
I got a little bit too drunk before one of the episodes last season, and I think it had to have been the alcohol. I was so annoyed by this one episode where they were like in a shed, and it felt like that was probably the weak episode of maybe the entire series, because the series is fucking great, but that episode was not very good, and I think I was a little bit drunk because it made such an impression on me that I was like, fuck this show, basically. And I don't know if I think I finished.
It's so good.
The season, but I have heard so many good things about the newest. That was one show when I first tuned in. I was just like, dude, that's again from like production. It's very like my childhood. The vibe with the Duffer Brothers, the music and directing and all of it. It has it really holds. It all holds together.
Is our really video like cutting out and that kind of stuff? I can't. I have no idea. Like, I mean, this is kind of more of like a troubleshooting stream. Just kind of put something up and see if it's working. So, if you're paying attention, let us know if it's cutting up real bad or something like that. But Stranger Things, it's so damn good. That show. What's the Better Call Saul?
Better Call Saul is amazing. I love it.
It's great. Ozark's great.
I'm not watching I haven't watched the newest is on like something I have to pay for. Amazon.
Probably AMC. Probably the same people that.
I thought it was on FX. I thought it originally aired on
pretty
FX.
Sure AMC
maybe I do
is
have
the one that
access
did
to
Breaking Bad. But I haven't watched it because I watch it on Netflix. And so
yeah.
I'm just waiting for it to come. I mean, if I have to, I'll just I'll just go pirate mode.
I finally just finished what's available on Netflix, and I was like, maybe I think I was halfway.
You watched everything on Netflix?
All of the Better Call Saul, and I got like I don't know. I was maybe halfway through like the first episode, and I think I text a buddy of ours where I was just like, "Fucking Better Call Saul, so good." Like I forgot, or like I guess I somewhat forget how good certain shows are. I don't watch a lot of TV, period. But yeah, it's definitely top notch, man. It's so freaking good.
It's good. Some people amp it up too much. Maybe the latest season is over the top phenomenal, but it is not as good as Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad.
I don't see the need to compare.
I know, but I mean, so many people say that
there's a natural.
I see enough people saying like, I think it's better than Breaking Bad. It's like, man, I don't think you remember how good Breaking Bad was, because like that showed never got worse. It just kept getting better. Every season was better than the next. And then like that final season, like that was like edge of your seat shit every episode. Like what is gonna happen? This is wild.
Yeah, it was
So
pretty amazing.
good.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
And that's the kind of stuff like when I see like this stuff on Disney Plus and I see the kind of money that they're putting into this stuff and people are like, "Whoa, it's not all that bad. It's all right.
You shouldn't
And
have
it's
to
like,
do that.
hold on, no, raise your expectations.
Yeah, man.
They are spending so much goddamn money on this stuff. It should be premium quality.
Well, and I
shit.
wonder, like, budget wise, how it compares to shows like Better Call Saul, Breaking
It's
Bad.
way more. They're
be-
spending
yeah.
way more money on their shows.
So it's
Better Call
get
Saul.
a better fucking production. Get like better people involved, better directing, better writers.
I
like,
get the audience is different, so you're targeting different audiences. So you're not going to be able to do as an adult of theme as like Better Call Saul on Star Wars or Marvel, but you don't have to sacrifice writing. The original Star Wars are great. The MCU prior to to Endgame, most of that is pretty fucking good. That's some top quality, superhero movie stuff. It's just the stuff that is released since Endgame has just gone. It's like, well, that was okay, and it's like, dude, like, why are we?
Why are we doing
Why
this?
are we talking about this stuff like it's like, oh, it wasn't bad, and it was like, oh, I thought it was okay,
feeling
and it's
need
like,
to defend it?
it's like, why would I? I'm not defending that shit. Like if I promise you, if Patrick Rothfuss drops a third book and I'm like, it was okay, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be pissed.
yeah. It's not hard for me to be, I guess, dispassionate. If I don't enjoy it, that's what I would say. There's certain things that I enjoy about anything, like any of the shows. I defend Phantom Menace because I don't think it's as bad as a movie as people make it out to
I'm not
be.
gonna get in arguments with people. Like if someone is like, I say a movie is okay or it's all right, and someone is like, no, that's dog shit. I'm not gonna argue with that person because if I think something is okay or all right, there's going to be a significant amount of people that think it's dog shit.
Well,
and they're not wrong. I mean, it's just like you have your opinions, and if something is only okay, then the amount of dog shit people that think it's dog shit is going to be significant.
Well, it's always so subjective anyway. I mean, that's why a lot of times with anything that I really like, I'll even be hesitant. I only recommend stuff to like 2 people. Anybody else, I'm like, I don't know if you'll like this. Like, I'll give a bunch of qualifiers at certain circumstances, but with like, because I mean, I don't watch that much stuff to begin with, but it's certain things that like make a big impression. I mean, it's kind of wide reaching.
The thing that's like annoying me is it's gone beyond like the typical you have your arguments with the fans is like now you have like the studios, you have like Disney and Amazon and all these people, like every time they put out something that is not positively received from the audience, they start attacking them, and they don't just go like hey, we have a handful of fans that say nasty stuff to us and they're jerks, but most of our fans are phenomenal. We love you guys are great, love all the support. We got some jerks out there, but hey, ignore the jerks. No, now it's like there's a massive problem in our fan base, and it turns out a bunch of you guys are a bunch of racist scumbags, and you guys got major fucking problems, and I think that's why you don't like our show. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you inserting yourself? Just shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
and I get it. They're spending hundreds of millions or billions of dollars on this shit. So then when they're getting piled on and like people are like, this fucking show sucks, they're getting defensive because they got a lot of money on the line. So it's that human nature. But you got to have someone at the top that is snipping this shit in the bud. And it's like, stop fucking attacking the fans. What are you fucking doing? Because like all you're doing is you're hardening the hatred. Like the people who are like, I don't like this isn't my thing, or like this is average. As soon as you start attacking them, then they go, fuck this show, fuck these people. This is the worst shit ever. They ruined my childhood. And they start going and you just amplify all the negative, like the worst of the negatives, the over the top reactions. You expand those to significant proportions when you start attacking the fan base because then they get defensive.
Why can't they just resist saying anything?
Just shut the fuck
Yeah,
up.
you put the show out.
Like
that's it.
There's a great one where Henry Cavill, who plays Superman in the DC movies, he's the latest guy to play Superman. He's also the guy who plays the main Witcher character. But they were asking him, and they were like asking him about like toxic fans, and he gave the response you're supposed to give in those kind of positions so that you don't alienate fans. He was like, well, a lot of these people, they're very passionate about this. And so when they're giving these passionate responses, I'm paraphrasing. So, you can watch a video of him saying it. But he's just basically like, there's a lot of people, they invest a lot into this stuff. They're very passionate about this. And so they're just voicing their opinions. I don't see it as, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's, there's nothing wrong with them voicing their opinion. It's just them expressing themselves. And that's perfectly fine. That's how you handle that shit. You don't go like, yeah, it turns out they all are a bunch of scumbags, bunch of homophobes. they hate the gays.
They don't like the thing I'm in. Yeah, they're all pieces of shit.
It's like, what the fuck? Why do you guys keep doing this? I don't understand I don't understand because it's not just like we got a bunch of shitbag fans that say nasty stuff to us. They immediately start painting with a broad brush and start throwing out the racist, the homophobic, the transphobic, and it's like, dude, you're just inserting yourself into one of the hottest culture wars that I've been a part of in my life. Like, got pretty hot in the 90s with the politically correct fight, but on that back in the 90s, it was the right wing that was more the politically correct side. Now it's kind of flipped, but that would have been a pretty hot time to insert yourself. This is way hotter time, and like to insert yourself when you got these billion-dollar franchises is insane to me.
I mean, I guess the tactic would have to be, the only reason to justify it would be, the tactic would have to be, well, now everybody will talk about it because that's what everybody's talking about now. So let's make it about race, and let's make it about sexuality and xenophobia, whatever the fuck.
You're just like peeling away portions of your base every time you do that. It's just like you're losing more and more of your base.
It has nothing to do, like, especially like Lord of the Rings or anything. It has nothing to do with what the show was originally about to begin with.
No.
It wasn't about this.
No.
Like, if you want that story, go to another story. Yeah. Or write your own fucking story. Yeah. It's about that. And some people might be interested.
And others won't. If you're going to do it, you have to accept the fact that a lot of people are not going to like it. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. Like, I'm not like a huge... I don't get like super worked up about changes. I get worked up once you start calling me names because I don't like a change. Yeah. I'll go from like, I don't like that change, I think it was unnecessary, to like, hey, you're a racist. And now it's like, well, now I fucking hate your show. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. Yeah. And like it'll flip that switch in me. I'm not a person. You start swinging at me, I'm gonna start swinging back. Yeah, I'm not gonna get defensive.
Once you play like the shame card type scenario, then it's like, yeah, go fuck yourself.
Basically, what you're telling me, like when you start calling me names, you're like, you need to stop talking. And my reaction is the exact opposite of that.
You want me to be louder?
I'm going to talk louder, and I'm gonna ramp this up. So don't call me names. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, it's a fucked up world we live in.
Yeah, that is, and that's a lot of it. People trying to stay relevant. There's and you see that in Hollywood. A lot of people, a lot of actors and actresses, as they get older, they become political activists, and I think that's a large part of that is to stay relevant. But even leaving that aside, leaving the politics and like whether you agree with their positions or you don't, like there's. Like if you're taking something like Tolkien's work is the big one that is now under fire. Like the show is under fire from the fans. It's getting ratioed at rates I've never seen before. Like they're one of their trailers has over 1 million dislikes and like 100,000 likes. never seen anything like it, or maybe 200,000 likes. It's just crazy ratio, like 20-1. But the show is like starting to attack the fans, and like, yeah, we're starting to get uncomfortable. They're attacking the new black characters that we brought in, so they're probably racist. And it's like, hold on. A lot of the critique is like, there's one of the elves they brought in, this black guy. He's got a high and tight fade. He's got a haircut like me. It's like shaved all the way up. It's like a perfect fade. Like he looks like he just came out of the barbershop. And it's like, come on, man, you didn't even make an effort there. And then if you're going to bring in a black elf, you have to explain, like, well, okay, why are there black elves, but there's no black elves later on? And is he the only black elf? Because that's going to stand out. And like, so if you're going to bring in these things, you're having to bring in elements that need to be explained and explored. And so when you're talking about people who want to watch like Tolkien, it's like, I didn't really come into this to get this exploration of this new thing that you introduced. Yeah. I just want some Tolkien. Yeah. Like, I don't need this new element that you and if you're going to bring in this new element, you have to explore it. And so it's like, that's not why I'm coming in to watch Tolkien or George Martin or Patrick Rothfuss. I don't need these new elements that you want to introduce.
That's always so shorthanded anyway. Like, even if the idea is like, oh, representation, well, then it's just for optics sake.
Yeah.
Then it's not real representation anyway. It's just visual.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's enough for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whoever you're pandering to, if that's what you're doing,
and
then
at that point,
weak.
if it's just about like adding in representation, then at that point you're saying this is just about an agenda. This isn't about making the show better. This isn't about bringing a story to life. And I'm sorry, but if you're bringing something in and it's like this is an agenda, then there's going to be fucking pushback. You're going to get pushback anytime you push an agenda into a story because it's not universal anymore.
Well, especially for like the legit fans, because I'm not that for like Lord of the Rings and whatnot. But if it was George R. R. Martin's world, or if it's Rothfuss's world, I am very, very interested to read anything that they want to propose in that world, that they want to put in that world that makes sense with the world that already exists. If whether it's in Dorne or it's Dick and Manwoody or whoever. I mean, wherever
if Dick and Manwoody is not in everything that George R. R. Martin puts out, I'm not watching it. I'm flipping tables. It's over. You ruined it. You screwed it up. Go back. Give all the money back that you made on the show. Give it all back if he's not in it.
I mean, whatever it would be. I mean, whatever the focal point, because he created such a massive world. And same with Rothfuss in a way, on a smaller scale, but still, I mean, there's all these places like Junpui and other places that they can explore and build a world in. But if it's done and it's not cohesive with the story itself, then it's like, well, so what is it we're doing here?
The problem too is like you start to get people heated when you're sitting there and you're talking about Tolkien, who's got one of the most beloved fantasy stories of all time. It is definitely number one. Definitely number one.
It seems to have influenced...
expands the world.
And those two writers I'm mentioning, this is like their biggest influence.
Yeah. Well, so. and Tolkien expands the world. People all around the world. I'll address that hers in a second. But people all around the world love it. So, I mean, this is not a story that only relates to one type of person. It's all around the world that this story expands to. So when you start going in and you're saying, like, it's not diverse enough, we need to add this, we need to add that, you're saying there's something wrong with that story. There's a lot of hardcore fans. And when you say there's something wrong with his story, you're going to get pushback. You're going to. So you're going to have to deal with that. And I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I'm not going to go flip tables because you want to add some women characters, you want to add some some black characters or some Asian characters. I don't really, it's not gonna cause me to flip tables, but personally it's like if you want to have a story that is like super diverse and stuff, then my thing would be like, well, just go write your own story. Why are you telling Tolkien? Like, he wrote a specific story. That story does not, the race of characters and all that kind of stuff, or the sex of characters, it's still, women love that story, Men love that story. All different races love that story. You don't need to change that. There's nothing wrong with the story. So if you're saying like we wanted to add something in because we thought it'd be an interesting element, we thought it would play off of it well, and when we filmed it, it made it better and like that. Okay.
Well, yeah.
But if you're saying there's something wrong with his story, like bullshit, there's nothing wrong with his story. Look at the fucking sales.
well, I would say it needs to add to the story rather than be a distraction. It's always a problem if you bring something in that all it becomes is a distraction. I guess one of the problems I had with, like, just for example, like Django Unchained. I love Tupac's music.
Yeah.
Django Unchained was a very cool movie. Suddenly, I'm listening to Tupac in the Wild West.
I love that scene though.
I didn't. It took me out of the movie. Suddenly, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm in a theater at this moment, and I didn't want to be. Maybe that was his intention, but I would rather not. I would rather not leave the experience that I'm having within the movie itself.
And then, so like she says, I agree and disagree. What's nice about it is people of color that like fantasy get the chance to be a part of it, but I get how it's important to make it make sense. And me speaking as a person of color that would die if I could be in some fantasy stuff, but I totally hear you. Yeah, I'm not discounting that. And like my thing is like Patrick Rothfuss wrote a story that is very diverse, that has a lot of women in it, and then has some badass characters of every race and ethnicity. Like he has all of that. And like, so if like Hollywood wants to do a story that, a fantasy story that has all those things, there's so many things to choose from. And or if they feel like none of those work, then go write something new.
But think about this. What if they made Kavoth a transsexual?
Well, obviously,
What would that do to the story?
Well, that makes it better.
But well, I mean, it brings in this wider audience apparently.
It would change the world because I mean, like
it would change the entire story.
Yeah, but regardless,
now he has to deal with that as a character. He doesn't deal with that in the books.
And I agree. But my point is, like, if you want like a diverse fantasy, you feel like the fantasy shows don't have enough diversity. There's so many stories. There's so many fantasy stories that have so much diversity. Like, bring those to life. Mm-hmm. If like you can't, there's nothing stopping these studios. They have mountains of money that they could pour into massive, best-selling stories, and they could let these stories be brought to life. But you can also do stories like Tolkien's, and you could tell it. And there's nothing wrong with telling his story.
Yeah.
You do like this idea we're getting into, like. You got to change everything, and you got to make everything for everybody. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And you certainly don't need to change the number one best-selling fantasy writer of all time. Unquestionably, if you ask any fantasy writer who's the GOAT, they're all going to say Tolkien. You don't need to change his shit because his shit plays all around the world.
Yeah. Well, and actually, that's something that came to mind, especially with like superhero stories. One of the biggest elements of every single superhero story in their origin is like identity in itself.
But even still, even if you want to change it, you want to add some women. Like I'm not gonna be losing my shit over that. Like I'm not like this massive Tolkien nerd that like I am with Kingkiller Chronicles, where I know all the little details and everything. But so like if you add these kind of things and it makes sense, it's not gonna faze me. I'm not gonna like not watch the show because you made some change where you added some woman character where a woman character didn't exist before. That's not that big of a deal to me. But it better be good. Well, like and not only that, you're talking about like an all-time great writer. You better have some fucking phenomenal writers, because if you start making changes to Tolkien's work and it's not phenomenal, then that's going to be a big issue. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Like, Peter Jackson with the original trilogy, he made some changes, but those are phenomenal movies. People complain about the changes. I didn't really have that big of a problem with them because it's a phenomenal movie. He did a great job. The Hobbit, he made some major changes on that, but those movies suck. And so that's why he got shat on hard. So, like, once you start making changes, you're painting yourself into a very difficult corner. You better be bringing your A game.
I think a pretty good example, at least for me, would be Game of Thrones, in the sense that, as far as I remember, first season was the closest to the books. First season was phenomenal. It convinced me to read the books.
Yeah.
And I was reluctant to reading any fantasy up to that point.
Yeah, and I'm
which was like a
obviously
game changer for me.
massive fan of the books. I watched the first 3 seasons, and I thought they did a really good job as far as bringing the books to life. And I know people complain about the later season. I never watched them because I didn't want to get spoilers for the books, but because when I read the Red Wedding, I was like, there's no experience reading anything like that. I was like, I'm not going to deprive myself of that by watching something on the show. But I mean, they made changes. They changed things, and I was like, some of them I liked, some of them I didn't like. But here's the thing: is like we can like something and we can dislike something. We don't have to agree. Like people can be like, I like that they're doing X, Y, Z, and I can be like, I don't like it. And the only time that shit gets heated is when you start questioning whether a person's a good person.
On the
It's
basis
like,
of
dude,
their
I'm just trying to
subjective-
watch a fucking show, man. I've been nerding out over fucking shows all my life. I've never had so many times where like now, like I had some guy, he was like, I commented on something and he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I'm starting to feel like you're too far gone now. And he's like, and then he started talking about Nazis and fascism, and I was like, dude,
So-
I'm just watching this is entertainment to me, man.
What's insane about that is that so then you're basically closing people off to where you don't get to talk about it unless you
well,
have the opinion that we want to have.
My reaction is
then
like,
you can't talk
like
about
once
the
you
show.
go like, oh, I think you're going too far. Like, oh, you do? Well, block.
Well,
It's
I
like,
mean,
see ya.
But what does it? I mean, if you take that to its conclusion, where it's like the opinion's subjective in its own right, but if my opinion will get me castigated in certain circles, then we're not going to talk about it. Is that what you want?
Like,
you want people to not talk about your
yeah.
show? Like, is that what you're making the show so no one talks about it? The
Like
fuck are we doing?
I can't
a circle
have
jerk.
an opinion you disagree with without being a horrible person. Like if that's the case, if you get heated over a TV show, like I get it if you get heated when someone starts insulting you and like, oh, you like that, you're a fucking moron. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get heated too. But like if someone's just like, I don't like this, I don't think this change was necessary, I think that it would be better if we did it this way, that way, da da da. That's just having a conversation. That's just talking. You should be able to fucking talk with people and express your opinions without shit getting so heated. And I don't understand why these billion-dollar corporations keep fucking inserting themselves and just like saying like, oh, here we go, here's a grenade. Catch that, fans. You guys enjoy that.
I mean, I feel like, especially in a face-to-face situation, people are able to have these conversations, at least in my experience, and not get super heated. But it's on the on the blogosphere. It's on the World Wide Web that people get all worked up, man.
Let's
They
go.
have this.
50,
They have
11.
this. They have this identity of like what they have to do.
I'm pretty sure that's 50 Cent.
Yeah, I'm sure that's.
Yeah, 50, 11. I'm 100% sure that's 50 Cent. What's up, 50 Cent? Love the first album. Second album, was like,
I like the underground stuff when everyone
Yeah.
else started to like you.
yeah,
Not as
I didn't.
much.
Once you got big and famous, it was a big letdown.
Yeah. Once you were successful, then it was like, I'm over it.
Yeah, as soon as Rothfuss signs a movie deal, like that's it for me. I'm done with that series.
And then you'll be labeled as a racist and a bigot and
Yeah,
all those other
yeah.
things.
Oh, you hate that white guy? You racist. You don't like a white guy from Wisconsin?
Is that where it's from? Wisconsin?
Fucking cheesehead.
I didn't know that. You're a big Brett Favre fan?
No. So and someone was talking about like for his series, Rothfuss had talked about he wanted to change if he does a movie, he wants to change Shep to woman. Shep's the one that gets killed by the skin dancer in the bar.
Ah, yeah.
And it's like
Guess you could.
because he was sniping at me about it, and the guy that brought it up, he was like, "You gonna bitch about that?" And I was like, "I mean, I might. I'm not gonna like be flipping tables over it. It's like it's a minor character. I would just be. My question would be like, why does Rothfuss think there's something wrong with his book that needs to be fixed? Like that shit is a masterpiece to me.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
trying
I
to
don't
think of
understand why he
what
thinks
the
it needs to be fixed.
what
It's just
the
to have
relevance.
another female character. And I'm like, dude, you got so many badass women characters. Maybe he's like, we need a better female character brought into the story sooner or something. Like I don't understand why
I mean,
that
I
group
guess
of bars
she's-
had
I guess-
that group of bar patrons. They need a girl introduced into the mix. I mean, like I'm not gonna flip out over it. I just don't. I don't understand why that is important. Like to me, it just seems like a.
It's kind of
It's just like it just seems like that. That's where I'm talking about. Where it's like, well, you just got some kind of like agenda. How does that make your
Yeah, no,
story
that's-
better?
that's a bit-
That's just pushing an agenda.
it's a bit of a distraction. It's not. I don't think it would be so much that it like ruins
no, it doesn't,
the
I mean,
story.
It's such
It's-
a minor character.
But for
It's
anyone
just
that
like,
reads it, it'd be like, whoa, what?
Why?
Why?
It would
why
just be
is
like,
she?
why?
Why is he a woman? Okay. I mean, I guess he's a woman. I'm going to continue to watch this
Because of-
but it's going to occur in your mind.
Yeah.
It has to,
Yeah.
right? So you'll just okay. So I guess, but there are. Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
you're gonna
There,
be
there
like,
are no women
why's
in
it
that
got,
group.
Why's it got to be shit? Now, oh, so the woman's got to be killed. You got to kill a woman.
Well, it can't be old Cobb
Yeah.
because he's too annoying.
Yeah.
So can't be him because that would be that'd be detrimental.
Yeah, but no, like I mean, those kind of things, like it's not that big of a, it's not a big deal. It's just like I don't even see why people think it's necessary. Like to me, like I read that book and I'm like, that's a masterpiece. I don't understand why anyone would feel the need to change it.
That's why I kind of bring up Game of Thrones first season because it was so close to the book. I mean, just if you can, as best as you can, stick to Rothfuss's story, as best as you can, and execute. Like do what we've talked about. Have two people playing Kavoth.
I get
one
like
on the back of the other.
I
But-
get like on Game of Thrones, like I get where they took the lady that was a prostitute, and she was like an original character, the redhead, and she's not in the books, Roz or whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
Roz, yeah.
She's not in the books, but it was like she's an amalgamation of the prostitutes in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like I get like things like that where
Those are kind of
you're combining
shortcuts.
characters to like
Those
'cause
are
you gotta
necessary.
save money.
Those are and those are necessary for the medium because it's a show, and I'm fine with it being 20 seasons,
Yeah.
frankly, but you have to kind of condense. I mean, it seems like you have to condense to like launch this out in 5 seasons, so we wrap this thing up. Everybody's in a hurry to execute it, but I guess also you have the age of the cast and all that stuff that gets involved.
Yeah,
But,
you start running out of steam
Yeah.
on a lot of stuff. So I mean, like it's a different medium. I mean, you have to cut things, you have to pull things out. You cannot replicate a book. I mean, there's
No,
just
it's
so,
impossible. It's
so
impossible.
much.
You
Like,
can't
I
be in
mean,
Tyrion's head.
like they're not
impossible.
going to be able to replicate the music from King Killer Chronicles on a TV show because everybody who reads that book is like the music is awesome. When you play music, not everybody is going to like it.
Yeah,
It's just
subjective.
immediately
Yeah.
guaranteed not going to please everybody. It's impossible.
The second a note is played, it's like, why'd they make it so classical?
Yeah.
Why'd they go this direction? It doesn't matter. It's
It's
all
gotta
going to
be
be
straight hip hop. Like, hold on, what? He's been playing hip hop the whole time.
they
Just
go
do it
straight up
and he's-
straight up musical.
and they just voice over Eazy-E. Like
love
so
it.
he sounds like he does as an actor, but then when he
Jesus.
sings, it's just
So they
Eazy-E
literally
dubbed
just
over.
go-
badly dubbed over.
They just go spotlight, and then he has a Jerry curl and the Compton hat.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, but he's hitting the loop. Woke up quick at about noon. Oh man.
Yeah, that would be classic.
Yeah, I mean, even I guess this to a degree, what we're talking about to a degree is subjective. It's just what people focus on. The idea of having to change the story to meet the agenda of what someone else expects from their stories. I'm not going to stories to meet, personally, I'm not picking up a book to try to align with what I think, the way I think the world is now. I'm reading a book for the opposite. I mean, pretty much, man.
And it's a different experience for me. Is like my philosophical and political views are shared by like 1% of the population. Yeah. So like, it's not a hard thing for me to go into entertainment and to be like, I notice when it's left wing or right wing. I can tell. I can almost always tell what the political bent is of the person who's writing it very quickly. If I can't, it's because it is a timeless classic. And they just weren't putting in their own shit. They were just telling
what you're basically
story.
saying is if they can keep their agenda out,
yeah,
they did a great freaking job, which is what you should be doing. It's not journalism.
But even if I was reading something and it was like, I've read a story where I was like, oh, this dude is just like me. I was like, this guy shares all my beliefs. And like, if you want to know my beliefs, I'm an anarchist. So very rare you run into a writer or anybody like in Hollywood or anything that's an anarchist. But so like when I read someone and I was like, this dude's an anarchist. And as I'm reading him, I was like,
that's fiction?
It is a fantasy story. And I was like, this dude's definitely an anarchist. He shares all my beliefs. I mean, and I was like, it's so on the nose that it's obvious. And I was like, that's a major problem with your fucking story, dude. This is not good.
Even though
I was
agree.
I agree with it, and so I can roll with it easier than someone who would disagree with it. But
you got a big flaw.
It's like that's your biggest problem with the book. Like he needed an editor to begin with. The story I read, like the guy desperately needed an editor. But it was a pretty solid story. The bones of it was pretty good. Like I was like, this could have been great. It's like you needed to take your agenda out of it, and you needed an editor. Like there's so many parts of it. Like as far as the editor, it was like, I said, she said, I said, she said, and it was like, dude, do you know how many times you just said?
Yeah, you led into the That's not good.
Like, get a fucking authority.
But even I don't know, what comes to mind is like Atlas Shrugged, for example, is a great example of a book that it has obvious political leanings, but the story itself is amazing. Like it works as a story, and it has an agenda because we know that about her anyway. She's kind of presenting her agenda, but she does it in the form of a story that works tremendously freaking well, man. And a lot of the great old Russian writers, man, if the agenda's in there, but it's so the moral agenda, I guess you could say, or the parable is in the bones of the story, but it's hidden in such a way that you're not being preached at. It's just part of the element of the story, you know.
Tyler Crabb, he's a longtime fan. So pissed I'm late. I'm a firefighter, and we just got back from boatyard fire. Huh? Could have let it burn.
There's a story about that, right?
You could have quit. You could have quit your job, man. I don't know what to tell you.
There's a story about that. We don't need no water. Let something burn.
Let the motherfucker burn. Yeah. Burn.
R.I.P. Fitz.
R.I.P. Fitz. Yeah, you missed the story on why Fitz is gone. You just blew it. Not telling that again. Never will hear it.
No.
Now that we'll obviously we'll post this up, and so I mean you can go back through it, but and I'll probably post it online. We just been shooting the shit though, talking trash about all the adaptations that we're seeing lately, and Tim had shin bone surgery, and that's why we've been gone. He's trying to expand his height. He's trying to add inches to his height by adding shin bone to himself.
It's not true. I wasn't adding height. I added density to the surface of the shin bone. So I thickened the front of the shin bone just for soccer practice, which I haven't played in 20 years or something like that. But I have kids, you know, so once they start playing, if they start playing, I can take some kicks to the shins. I don't need shin guards. Who wants to wear shin guards, man? Those things suck.
When I moved back from Los Angeles, I ran into some guy played soccer with, and he was talking to me about playing soccer again, and he's like, he started talking about like his third ACL tear, and I was like, yeah, nah, it's not happening. I'm not playing again. It's
Third
like,
ACL tear.
yeah,
Jesus.
it's like, nah, you've done that 3 times. I'm not doing that.
Damn. Never had anything like that. My shins or my ankles.
Tiny Tim, man, trying to get taller.
Yeah. That's what like lengthening.
Keep telling him, just like start hanging on monkey bars every day. Stretch out, at least stretch out your arms. You'll have long arms.
What does that do for height?
I don't know.
I mean, it helps in the post.
Your body will adjust. Be like, we look really weird with these long
that's
arms.
That's how it goes.
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
Your brain will.
So the rest of your body decides to slinky up.
Yeah, but you got those super short legs. Like they're so tiny. Like his upper body is normal size. It's the legs that are so disproportionate.
Oh,
He's got like half a leg.
Completely ridiculous.
Doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that's why the skin graft or the bone graft on my shins was so inexpensive.
Yeah. It was such a small area.
I have to drink so much milk, and I'm lactose intolerant. It's really been a problem for me. Just the calcium.
You're lactose intolerant?
I won't stand for it. Not completely, but
I just don't like it. I liked it as a kid. I do not like milk anymore.
My wife's Armenian, and a lot of her family and friends are Armenian. I remember hanging out one night, and one of her friends was just like, I mean, did you white people actually drink milk at like every night with dinner? And I was like, 100%. I had a tall glass of milk every night with dinner, and I haven't had a tall glass of milk in, since I was probably like 16.
I would
17?
drink, like as a kid, I would drink it on cereal and then come in from outside playing in the hot sun, like come
down
and get
some milk.
Cold glass of milk. Do the, what's the Anchorman? Fucking, milk was a bad choice. Like you chug a big glass of milk and it's just sitting in your stomach as you go back out to play. It's like, oh, that was stupid.
Yeah, that's bad. You should be eating a bowl full of spaghetti.
Yeah. I had growing up in the the 80s and then in high school in the 90s, and you going by the food pyramid, like preparing for soccer, it's like trying to prepare to have energy for the games to be able to run, and it was like gotta load up on carbs. So like I'm like pounding carbs as a kid. And then I had like my freshman and sophomore year of high school had horrible tendonitis in my ankles. Only time in my life. And it was the only time in my life that I was just like pounding carbs purposely. I was just like, gotta eat carbs. And it's like, man, I got this horrible inflammation problem in my ankles.
I wonder where that's coming from.
God damn it, man! The internet. I needed the internet.
Yeah.
Could have saved my freshman and sophomore. Like I was like popping ibuprofen just to walk around at school.
Yeah,
it's like my ankles were so bad.
So then you're eating away your stomach line.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, then I had terrible stomach problems for years.
Yeah, it's all that Advil.
Yeah, and for all you athletes out there, don't pound tons of carbs and get tendonitis, and then don't pound ibuprofen to fix the pain. Don't
do either of those things.
No.
Drink a lot of water.
No.
Yeah.
I get the, gotta eat, you gotta put up some stuff in your body, but don't go like on a full carb diet. It's always a bad idea.
I'm pretty sure that's widely known at this point, like lean protein.
Yeah.
Right?
You remember when the Atkins diet came out and everybody was like, this moron.
Yeah,
He's not eating carbs.
Yeah.
He's gonna have no energy.
I do remember that. Yeah. I was like, you'll die. Like you can't survive just eating.
Look at the pyramid, man.
Yeah.
There's so many carbs you're supposed to eat. You're not eating any of them.
Literally flip the thing over. That's ridiculous. But yeah, that's the stupid shit we were told as kids.
Right, and it's not one size fit all, because like you see some of like the bodybuilders and like their diets are completely different than what a normal person would be, and it's not just like don't eat carbs. They're eating everything.
It's also not one
because they're expending so much.
It's also just like there's that, but there's also everybody's freaking different.
Yeah,
everybody's got allergies and shit like that. But it is pretty funny to like have kids and then think what the best thing is. Based on your experience, right? Because what we were told as kids, so much of it was ridiculously wrong.
I remember
ridiculously wrong.
First time I met a vegan, met a vegan when I went out to visit a buddy in LA right before I moved to LA. Went out and visited our buddy and see this girl at a party, and she's talking about being a vegan, and then I was like, someone brought up milk, and she was like, no, that's off the menu. You don't drink milk, and I was like, you don't drink milk as a vegan? It's like, but it's good. It's so good. Why would you not drink milk? It's like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, you don't eat any meat. And then it was like,
no cheese.
Then she found out. She went to Ireland, and she went to the Guinness factory, because we were both bartenders together. We would have a good old time nailing back car bombs, Irish car bombs, and she goes to Ireland and she goes to Guinness factory, and then they tell the story of how when they made Guinness, like, then they cleaned out the barrels and they saw that they had a huge, and this is years, I mean, way back in their history in the beginning, they had a huge rat infestation where, like, a bunch of drowned rats at the bottom of carcasses at the bottom of their barrels. So they cleaned everything out and got it all up to code and everything. And then people were complaining about the taste of it, so that it didn't taste right. So then they started throwing meat chunks and into their process. And so people were drinking, and then people liked it again. And so she had to quit drinking Guinness after that. Once she found that out, she'd have to bring in like Murphy's or some shit like that every time she'd want to do a car bomb.
Yeah, well, I wonder if her body knew the difference anyway. Although I like both. Murphy's is good too.
Okay, fellas, you got this. This is what I wanted to say. Number 1, WB, we missed you. Number 2, what the fuck happened to the website? Continue. We get so few of our hits on the website. It almost all goes directly to the podcast, or it goes to Twitter and Instagram, and then we get some on YouTube. That it was just like it was a pain in the ass. It was like, maybe I'll bring it back at some point, but it was just like, this is pointless. Nobody uses websites anymore. So I mean, it wasn't like,
is it down like completely or something?
Yeah, I just quit fucking with it, and so yeah, and also we've got to understand that yes, it's beneficial to question all of the choices of the author makes, and or how we'd enjoy seeing the story told in other mediums, but we have to understand that. Now I'm left hanging. Let's see. You got Hugh Sigget's as?
I got questions. LOL. Is Tim still trying to read The Way of Kings?
You've read all the way through the first 2 books, right?
I don't think
you
I
finished the second book. I know you finished that because you told me. You texted me about it. Yeah. About like Kaladin come flying in on and facing off with Zeth in the sky and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end of the book.
Oh. I don't remember, man. I finished grad school, so I have more free time now. But yeah, I'd like to get back into it. I like the book. I mean, the book's great, So yeah, I'll get back to reading it. I was reading a lot of old like Russian stuff. Tolstoy.
Yeah, so 50.
Chekhov.
Like at the beginning, we were saying we're gonna get back into finishing up King Killer Chronicles, and so we're gonna finish that up, and just like normal episodes, we'll post those up and get through the rest of that book, and then once we're through that book, then we'll jump back into Stormlight. And I didn't like after we were going through it, because it takes this dude so long to read a damn book, that I didn't like how much I had to hold back on what I wanted to talk about. So when we do Stormlight again, I almost want to start over, or at least maybe not start over, but go back through like a lot of the things I couldn't talk about. Let's see. Number 3, continue. We're backseat drivers. We're Monday morning quarterbacks. So whatever crazy things Rothfuss wants to do with character changing their genders, etc., that is, he can do what he wants if it works. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's not like I'm not gonna be like flipping tables over if he changes. I just personally, my concern is like when I see someone is like, I'm gonna change, like Rothfuss, like I need to change this, make this character a woman, and it was like, dude, you wrote a fucking masterpiece, man. You should be fucking puffing your chest out and being like, this shit is fucking fire. I wrote a fire book. I don't need to fucking change anything. And anybody who thinks I needs to change anything is wrong. Like, that's the more mentality I would prefer to see him have, because I don't want to see Rothfuss get in a situation where he releases this and then he's got a million people being like, here, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be fixed, this, and then they just fucking butcher the movie. It's not so much like that change is a big deal. I don't fucking give a shit. Shep, who cares? He's a fucking nothing.
It's
character.
a good. It's
Just like it's illustrating like there's nothing wrong with your book. You don't need to fix it. And so like once you start thinking you need to fix it, then you could just have
It's a slippery
just
slope.
run down a long
Yeah,
list of things that you could fucking fuck up.
It's a slippery slope, man. I think it's a great example because it's not necessary, and it would be distracting. Like you were saying, it wouldn't enrage me. But there's no one that has read the books. If they go in and suddenly Shep's a woman, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, Shep's a woman." They will think about it when they're watching this, whether it's a show or a movie, whatever it is. They're gonna have a beat where they have to register the fact that, well, that's different than the book. Okay, I'm still watching the show. I'm not gonna walk out of the theater, but it's a distraction. It's not really necessary. So.
He says, laugh outright. I started when Tim did, and I'm already waiting for the next book. He's just not hooked on Stormlight yet. No, that is not the case. You should see how long this dude took to finish A Song of Ice and Fire. Like, it was, I told Tim, like, I had read all through the books, and then I read The Red Wedding, and I was like, I don't know anybody I can talk to. I was reading it with my girlfriend in the bed next to me, and I put down the book after it, and I was like, what the fuck did I just read? And she's like, what? And I was like, I just read the most fucked up thing ever, and I don't know a single person that I can talk to about it, and it's not going to come up on the show for years. So I was like, I got to get someone to read it. And so I get Tim to read it, and it was so goddamn long. Like, I read all 5 books in probably like 2 months. He was like, it took so long where like, and it got to a point where I would check and see his progress when he got to the 3rd book. Finally, I would check and see his progress. And then he was 4 chapters away. He was right at the start of like the 4 chapters that comprised the Red Wedding. And he was at that start. And so I was like, I see him. He's like, I'm going to go to the beach and read. And I was like, finally, gonna fucking get to talk about it. And then he walks in the door, and he just walks past me, like sets the book down, goes in his room, and I was like, well, he clearly didn't read it. And so then I go up, and it was like, he stopped on the chapter. He stopped on the chapter. Wow. And then it was like the next day, he finally...
So after the Red Wedding, the next chapter, I threw the book at the wall. Like, I literally threw it. Because I thought Arya died, and I was so fucking pissed. Which sounds weird now, because I don't know what made me think that. But he left it with a cliffhanger where I'm like, dude, like, you're killing all my people. Which is why he's such a gangster author to begin with. Which is what got me to read it in the first place was when, watching season 1, he kills Ned. I was like, oh shit. So this dude, he's willing to do this to his characters and to his fans. I was like, all right, I'm in, because it was so it was such a bold move.
All right, so let's read what 50 Cent was saying. And again, 50 Cent, I'm honored, and it's a privilege to have 50 Cent here.
Curtis Jackson, right?
Who?
Curtis Jackson.
50 Cent. Why are you bringing up some random person?
Well, that's his name, bro.
But no, so it was.
I would also
okay,
I would also agree with the point though that we are Monday morning quarterbacks. If Rothfuss decides to make a change, I would trust his judgment, but I would also agree with the point that he should be walking in there like, no, this is the story.
Yeah,
you want it? This is the
dope.
story.
Like I want him walking in swinging big dick energy in there and being like, yo, man, my shit is the dopest shit ever. You don't fucking change a word of it. Yeah, because, man, those Hollywood execs, man, they start getting their fucking fingers in shit, and they just ruin stories. But so let's go back on what he was saying. So we've got to understand that yes, it's beneficial to question all the choices of the author makes and how we'd enjoy seeing the story told in another medium. But we have to understand that we're backseat drivers, we're Monday morning quarterbacks, so whatever crazy things Rothfuss wants to do with the characters, changing their genders, etc. He can do what he wants if it works. That's great. If it doesn't, that's fine. But maybe he's right. Maybe not. But we're making the meaning together, and that's what makes your pod work important because we share similar perspectives. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, he can, and like I said, it's not. I'm not gonna be like flipping tables over a change like that. I just like. It concerns me anytime I start to see someone is like making changes because they want to address the current world that we live in. They want to address some shortcomings that they see in the world, and because once you start going down that route, like it's such a slippery slope where you could just ruin a story that is timeless. Your story doesn't need to comport to 2022's world in the views that you agree with. Like I don't think you need to do that. But again, you can do those things and you can change them. My concern is that like once you start doing it, I don't think it's necessary. And then once you start doing it, it can start rolling downhill where it just becomes a bunch of changes. But yeah, and then I agree. I wish you felt like we do, but we know. But what we know is don't push the rainmakers. Those people are different than us regular folks. Just a small point I was trying to make is all let Rothfuss do his thing, then we do ours afterwards. And then, have you all read Foundation by Asimov? I have not.
I am putting it in my Amazon list now.
Let's see.
Isaac Asimov, first guy on the moon, right?
He's
or in orbit. First guy in orbit.
17th guy in the moon. 17th. I feel like I'm the only one wondering what happened with Fitz. Fitz died in a horrible fire.
Burned to death.
He had his favorite pet squirrel was in a house that was on fire, and he ran in. I can't remember if the squirrel lived or died. We said it originally. I've already forgotten.
Yeah, I know it sounds like we're flipping about him dying, but it was so stupid that we don't feel bad about it.
He is in podcast heaven.
Yeah, he's in podcast. It took me like a minute to register that. It was such a dumb decision by him to do it that we don't feel bad.
Why would you go in? It's a squirrel. Just let the squirrel burn. There's so many squirrels out there.
And I know it seems weird.
Like in Florida, going around collecting, geckos. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're literally everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no place you can go where you won't run into geckos. Like you don't run into a fire to save your pet gecko.
No, you don't.
No, terrible decision.
Yeah.
R.I.P. R.I.P. buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Is it down? Is podcast heaven down or up?
You point at the computer because that's where it is. It's
podcast heaven.
Yeah.
In there.
You're in there.
Nah, I mean, Fitz is all of us. We've known each other for fucking decades. So
yeah, long time.
We're all good. We still talk to Fitz all the time, and from heaven, he still.
We're pen pals.
Let's see. Yes, but money changes everything. Yeah, the first few seasons of Game of Thrones were phenomenal. It started to. I didn't watch it, so I can't really speak. I stopped after the third season, so I can't really speak. But apparently, it just kept diverging significantly. Turns out Hamilton is the name of the wind.
I haven't actually watched it. I feel like there's a motivation within me to not like it, and I guess it's because so many people like it, which probably says a lot about me. But also, there's some movie that whatever his name is, Miranda, John Miranda, made for kids that it's annoying as shit. It's terrible. I hate it.
I should have introduced Fitz to the Assassin's Apprentice. You know how many jokes he would have made if we did a podcast on that series about every time I would say Fitz. You know how many times he would have been like, "What, me?" Like there's a character, the main character in the Assassin's Apprentice. His name is Fitz.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
So great.
Every time I say like it fits like a glove or something,
Yeah.
Fitz would have made the Fitz
me?
joke.
Wait, me?
Every
Is
time
it-
I
is it
brought up
me?
the character, he would have brought up that joke.
Are you
It would have
talking
been
about me?
non-stop with that one. He would have
It would all, you know, it would have also helped because he didn't really pay much attention in the middle of the conversation. So he would have also been like, wait, he would have legitimately thought you were talking about him?
Yeah, we didn't kick Fitz off or nothing. We are all childhood friends. We've known each other forever. We're still friends.
He kicked himself off.
Yeah,
shouldn't
he
have
was
went
just.
in that fire.
I mean, like honestly, he just didn't have the time to do it. So he was just like, I gotta tap out. So he tapped out.
Yeah.
And then he ran in to rescue a squirrel and died.
Yep.
So it all worked out. It would have been much more tragic had he not quit first and then died in a fire first. Then we would have been like, well, how do we go on? But once he quit, we were like, fuck that dude. Fucking quit on us. Fucking bitch.
That's how I feel about, Mac Miller and MCA and
Yeah.
Bum B.
GOT failed because the author tapped out. I mean, the guy's old. He writes slow, so I don't. I honestly like. I like the books that he wrote. So if he releases another book, my only requirement is that it's good. If he doesn't release another book, I don't fucking give a shit. I mean, I will fucking, if he releases it, I will fucking gobble it up. I'll read it immediately.
Yeah.
But I as long as he doesn't release something garbage, I don't care. And if he's like, what I'm writing is garbage, then keep writing because I don't need another book.
I don't personally, for me, I don't see it as failed. I still recommend the books. They're fucking great, man. Like Tyrion's one of my favorite characters, might be my favorite character of all time. In the books. I mean, Peter Dinklage is great and all, but the character Tyrion in the books is fucking amazing. And there's things that I've read in those books that I haven't read in anything else. I mean, obviously, but huge accomplishments in terms of literary sense. So, yeah, I think they're great. I think they're phenomenal. So, yeah, I mean, it would have been great to get the end of the story without the show and all. But
I so bad wish we could do a podcast on like I would want the books to be finished because I want to talk about those books. Like I'm as big a fan of that series as I am Kingkiller Chronicles, and I've dug into that world not probably less than Kingkiller Chronicles because of the podcast, and I've had to dive into it so much more. But I've dove into that world a lot too, and I would love to talk about that shit. But this guy, if you start talking about the series, he will literally try to tell you what happens at the very end of it. And then like there's one time we're walking and he's talking about it and I had like tuned out and wasn't listening, and he was like, oh shit, I just told you the ending. And I was like, what are you doing, man? I was like, you're lucky I stopped listening.
It's happened definitely a few times, which is also does make pretty clear how often you're not listening to what the fuck I'm saying. But thankfully, in those moments, you weren't listening because, it's always the overarching. I think about the overarching themes because I've seen what they've done and how it relates back to certain things. And that's what had come up because I was like, well, wait, shit, I just said the thing. And you were like, oh, I wasn't listening. Like,
and then he's like, anyone else try not to listen to Rothfuss before book 3 comes out? It depends. I like listening to Rothfuss when he's talking about like the writing process and he's talking about stories and that kind of stuff. I like it. I think he's a fucking master at the writing craft, and so I like hearing his insights and those kind of things. I think he's an interesting dude. But then he's prone to being, slipping into kind of a dark personality, or when he gets all up into politics and shit like that, I don't want to fucking listen to him talk about that. So like, It depends. Like it's got to be like I don't like follow single thing he says because like much of it is like I'm not interested.
I enjoyed
But like when people point to interviews he does when he's just like he's in a good mood, he's upbeat, and he's shooting the shit, talking shop. I love that.
when he did he read the intro, right? The prologue. His delivery on that was great. Like the little tidbits he kept coming out with, and he was like, I'll turn this podcast around," or whatever he said about it was pretty great. It was quite enjoyable. But I haven't tuned into a lot of his stuff. But yeah, when he's kind of just riffing, he's got a definitely a likable personality. But yeah, I don't need people's sort of perspectives on everything. Typically, when people delve into like their other things, I'm typically like, I'm coming to you for this. And I'm gonna keep coming to you for that, and not really as much the other things. Typically, I don't know. Maybe that's short sighted on my part, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, and he's like Game of Thrones books are great, but the TV writers killed it when he wasn't involved anymore. Well, I mean that's partially his fault. I mean,
Yeah.
he had. If he's gonna put it out, and he's put these guys in a situation, it's not like they can just stop shooting the show and wait for him.
Yeah, I wonder.
And I'm not saying like he should have just fucking put it out if he doesn't think it's good and whatever. But when the show's gotta go on and they gotta do their thing, and he's sitting there going like, Martin would sit there and say like, well, they what's the show? Sopranos would take like 2 years off and those kind of things. So we could do and it's like no, they'd still be waiting on book 6 right now. Like they couldn't wait for him.
Well, I wonder that like did he so he lost control.
He didn't
influenced what.
Yeah, he recently he said that the last 4 seasons he didn't have much input on anything happening in the last 4 seasons.
Damn.
But that's kind of his fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of. I mean, it's his. Well, again, I don't know what it became at that point because I'm not in the room. I'm not in the production. And with everything, it becomes its own behemoth at that point. I mean, it was everyone globally was talking about it. It was the biggest show for a fucking generation, damn near.
Yeah,
right?
I mean it's hard to criticize what they did. I know like the last season was shat upon, but like before the last season, and especially before the last 2 seasons, I saw the fucking numbers they were putting up, and I saw how difficult it was for me to avoid any spoilers. Like it was very much the show, the premier show.
Yeah, dude,
that
people
in Breaking Bad,
loved it, dude.
that was it. I mean, so it's hard to say like they did a bad job. They just didn't have Martin's finished story, so they had to fucking wing it.
It was one,
and that's the thing. That's why that's what I'm talking about with changes. It's like you see what they could do with his work. You see what they did those first 3 seasons. You see what they were able to do with that, and they built a fucking global phenomenon with his work. Now, if you're like, well, we'll just do our own thing. It's like, yeah, but you're not fucking George Martin. You're not Tolkien. You're not Rothfuss. You're talking about the best of the best. Like you're not gonna just be able to wing it and recreate what they do. They're fucking phenomenal.
I think
top tier. You don't just replace top tier talent.
I think you get in your own head though because you're like we've executed this and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So if you've been executing it, it's been phenomenal, and the numbers are there. They're the ones creating it. They're the ones involved the whole time. So they're like, we know what we're doing. We know how to steer this ship. Right? But, yeah, obviously. I don't really know the numbers or anything, and I did watch the show. This fucking guy didn't. So I know how it ends and all, but, This is Atlas Shrugged all over again. Rothfuss and GR are the Titans. This is how it goes. Producers have to make decisions. It's not going to be the same here. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, yeah, it's funny, Atlas Shrugged. I guess I brought it up too. A friend of mine brought it up last week and he asked me if I'd ever read it. And my answer immediately was it was my favorite book for probably 5 years. Previous to that was Count of Monte Cristo. Then it was Atlas Shrugged. And then I read Murakami, who's my favorite author. And then some of his became my favorite books. But yeah, I guess that's why it was on the brain. But it's a good analogy, you know. It's a good analogy. You let the the higher ups, the elites that take power, control what they think the course of things should be, and it doesn't work out so well, right? But I skipped one. Exactly, all his fault. Now he helped make a video game. Wow. Next book is never coming. Just gave it to Sanderson. Did Martin have input on a video game?
The Elden Rings game.
Oh yeah,
The game is so fucking good. It's so good, so good. Was that someone brought that up?
Young got, Quiz got, wears an ascot.
Let's see what I missed. They're great. Buy a goat for somebody, for gosh sakes. That's my biggest thing that I dislike about Rothfuss is his charity. I don't like helping people. I think it's exactly all his fault. Now he helped make a video game. Next book is never coming. Just give it to Sanderson. Sanderson would be the worst choice. If I was going to be like, okay, here's who I would want to write the book 6 and 7 for A Song of Ice and Fire if Martin died, and probably book 6 probably mostly done by now, you would think. But regardless, I would say I would want Joe Abercrombie and Patrick Rothfuss together. I think Abercrombie's got kind of the darkness to his style. There's a lot of his stories are kind of dark, and then Rothfuss is really good with dialogue and prose, and Martin is, to me, is top tier with dialogue. Yeah. He's by far the best writing dialogue. You could just have Martin write a story with just two characters talking to each other. I'd read that shit all fucking day.
It's not even just the dialogue. Again, for me, what shines, or at least in my mind, shines the brightest from from the series Song of Ice and Fire is Tyrion, man. It's his chapters where you're in his brain, man, when you're in his thoughts, But it's also the transitions of hating Jaime Lannister and then rooting for him.
Yeah.
And like that transition, like genuinely hating.
First time when I saw like on book 3, and I was like, I was going to be in Jaime Lannister's head. I was like, oh,
fuck
this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
And then now he's like my favorite character.
Yeah, it's impressive to be able to make that transition, and it's not heavy-handed, which is kind of ironic to say because once he loses his hand, you're kind of on his side, right?
Let's see. Then we got this is Atlas Shrugged all over again. Rothfuss and Martin are the titans. This is how it goes when the producers have to make decisions. It's just not going to be the same. Did great for a while. I never watched the Atlas Shrugged show. I've never read the book.
Did you say watched?
Yeah, I think there's multiple movies of it.
I
know they did too, and then I tried to watch they broke it into 2 parts.
Yeah,
it's 2 movies, and I tried to watch the first one, and I was like, this is terrible.
No, I went. Did you go with me? I went to the premiere by UCLA.
No, it looked horrible.
No, so dude, they spent the entire budget on the train, which, okay, but, I mean, no. Yeah, the execution is not there. You need a big budget to do, or maybe not a massive budget, but it clearly, you could tell from the get-go, like, this is not what it needs to be to meet the tier of how quality the story is. You need a decent budget. You need good actors, man. You need good production, and it wasn't there. That's funny when you said show. The book is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite books of all time.
And then let's see, Abercrombie and Rothfuss, not bad. Can we get Gaiman as well to help with Gaiman?
It's pronounced Gaiman, isn't it?
I don't know.
Gaiman. Is it gay man? Is it gay man?
I don't know.
I don't think it's gay man. Is it gay man?
Yeah, they really hit the gay hard when they say his name. He's really.
He's pretty really great, man. I like Neil Gaiman. I don't know if he would be a good writer for that type of a world. I like I like the worlds he creates.
He's talking about for the deadline, so maybe he could be like cracking a whip behind him. But Abercrombie seems to get stuff out pretty quick. Like I think he might be good with that. But I don't. I read American Gods, and that's one of the few books where like I got through like 2/3 of it, and it was just like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm done. No more. Like I almost never get 2/3 through a book and just put it down and give up on it. But that was one I tried to give it a shot because I wanted to give it a shot before that show came out, but it. I couldn't do it. Like but I like his. What's the other one that they made a movie of his, like Starlight or something like that? I can't remember. It's a famous story of his. I like that one. That one's actually one of Rothfuss's favorite books, but whatever it's called. So it's a famous story of his. I can't think of the name, but I like that one. But I'm not a like. He's hit or miss with me.
I made it. I think I made it almost halfway through, but I had to put it down because
in fact, like people were like when I was seeing like the synopsis for the show that came out on Netflix for him, Sandman. It sounded so similar to American Gods, where it was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna like that one. So I haven't even checked it out.
The reading you were the one that recommended American Gods to me, and I read it and I knew his name because.
Oh yeah, I said you would probably like American Gods.
Well, so
it's just not for me.
The book that has the Bast story. You know what I'm talking about? There's a book, Norse mythology, something. No, that's another game book.
Yeah.
There's some compilation of a George R. R.
yeah.
Martin thing, and so he wrote something in there. So I knew the name from that. So I was like, all right, I'll read it, and I was way into it, but then I don't know, something came up. I didn't put it down because I disliked it, but I put it down because I had to read something else. I don't know. Grad school had me getting pulled in a lot of different directions to where I had to read a lot of this shit, but I liked it.
Rogues?
Yeah, Rogues. That's it. Yeah.
The Graveyard. I haven't heard of The Graveyard. Y'all will like that one. I had the same experience with American Gods, read it, but didn't feel it. I don't know. It was just... I can read books where it doesn't feel like the plot is moving along. I'm not a huge... I don't need the plot to be like a big thing for me. It's not enormous, but like I got through 2/3 of American Gods and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm reading.
Do you remember?
So weird.
Do you remember when he had like the plot where he was having people, the ATM's not working, you're gonna give deposits directly to me, and some guy that was his heist, and it worked. I mean, there was a few things that were in the book that like worked so well. There were a few characters I really liked. I also like the shit is like completely out of left field and it's very unpredictable. Kind of reminds me of Murakami in that way. That's like why I think you recommend it in the first place, because I described what I liked about Murakami, and you're like, you should read this, and you were right on. You were right on with the recommendation because I did like it, but the fact that I haven't finished any of his books is so ridiculous. But he's all over Twitter, man. He's like really active.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, man. And a lot of those guys, they're hard to follow because all they do is talk politics now.
Stephen King is.
Yeah, Stephen King, man. Is like this dude like sounds like a 60-year-old fucking BoomerCon lady.
He is
like,
though.
But he's
That's
like a left-wing version of it. It's like.
I think he's that. I think it's that, but he's also sober as a recovering like drug addict, alcoholic. So now he's more Puritan or something. I don't know. But
peace out, young got questions. Got as I don't know what the name is, but you got questions. I got answers. Oh, I got it now. You got questions. I got answers.
And you got the answer on your shirt, bruh. So there you go.
Yeah. There you go. All right, peace out, buddy.
I forget what the fuck we were talking about.
And that story takes precedence over the characters worth checking out for you too. Yeah, I haven't read any of his stuff, so I've heard of foundation, but I have not checked it out. That one's sci-fi, right?
Oh, Asimov is a sci-fi writer. That's right. Actually, I think I've read one or two of his short stories. Now that I think about it.
For whatever reason, sci-fi is not like high up on my list. I don't read a lot of sci-fi.
I liked. I kind of like the place it takes me, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't look forward to reading it again. I guess maybe is. I don't know. I don't know if that's a
A
good way
lot
of
of it is
describing it.
because I've read, I've well, not even read. I've seen a lot of sci-fi that's horror related, and I don't like horror shit. It doesn't do it for me.
No, me neither.
So like if it's horror sci-fi where it's like, there's a lot of where it's losing oxygen and it's just like those kind of situations where it's like claustrophobic feelings all the time where it's like not into it. But but then then you got something like a Star Wars, which you could classify as sci-fi or fantasy or whatever. It's kind of an in-betweener, which I love that shit. So I should check out more sci-fi, but I haven't yet.
Well, I mean, the things about like Star Wars that work so well, it's the, it's the parables, man. It's
I
like
the adventure.
It's like the Aristotelian, overarching storylines that work so well.
Yeah.
It's just the things that make story work, and the execution just. I don't know, man. I almost feel like there was a lot of luck involved with like his ability to execute on the the first fucking
It's the Force, man.
installment.
It's the Force involved. Wasn't no luck. I don't know what you're talking about.
He was tapped in.
Idiot. Stupid
He was
idiot.
tapped in. Well, I say it also seems like luck because the more money he had, the more control he had, the worse shit got in the later years. So, I don't know.
On sci-fi and fantasy, I go with what Rafa says. It's all fantasy. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. But shit. Let's wrap it up.
All right.
We will pop back on next month. I'm thinking. Let me think.
I gave you a date.
Like the 16th? Yeah.
I think it was like the second week.
The 16th, like the third Friday of next month.
All right.
So
That'll work.
I think I'll make the trek up. Like Tim, he lives feels like 30 hours away from me, and so I got to drive all the way to the frozen tundra of the middle part of Florida.
Yeah, frozen tundra.
And
Fucking Florida's a lot bigger state than I thought, man.
It's
Like even
so
just
fucking big.
So somebody, Fox, our buddy, is coming to Orlando and then going to some place up on the Panhandle. And I was like, oh, I can meet him in Orlando. But let me see this place in the Panhandle. I'm like, fucking 8.5 hours?
Yeah.
8.5 hours? Like, what the shit, man?
And so when you moved here, I was like, dude, this is the equivalent of like you moving to Chicago.
No,
like,
but
hey, man, I'm gonna be in Chicago.
But that's
I'm in Indianapolis.
But that's LA. That's like LA to San Francisco is 8 hours.
Yeah.
That's a huge length.
Yeah.
But Florida is not spread out the same way as California.
So massive.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. But we're all down here.
Yeah, no problem. 50 Cent.
Curtis Jackson. Thanks
Fix
for
up
showing up.
I don't know, man. You got to do something new. Like, fix up
You've been following a lot lately.
the rap game. I'm not impressed with your work lately. You got to really fix that.
I've only heard the first 3 or 4 tracks from the Game's new album, but it's pretty good.
And
Pretty good. Pretty.
if
pretty
you
good.
need background dancers, like you need a little tiny guy, like Tim, Tim will fucking do that for you.
If you remember, it was at Bushwick Bill from what the Scarface's group. Shit,
I don't remember that.
Ghetto Boys. You remember the Ghetto Boys?
I remember Ghetto Boys. I don't remember
Was it
specifically what you're talking
Bushwick
about.
Bill? He was a freaking midget, man. He was a dwarf. He was a height challenged, whatever the fuck proper nomenclature would be for a short individual, but he was a rapper too.
All right. Well, we'll be back next month, and we'll start cranking out some more King Killer Chronicle episodes, so be on the lookout on the podcast.